guy has to be in the All-Madden team.
This is a special presentation of EA Sports from the Coliseum in Oakland. Our tribute to the coach, the John Madden legend. The Coliseum back to its original 70s glory. What a scene in the East Bay, and we're underway in the John Madden Legacy game. And makes it across the 20 as his guys will set up shop at the 23-yard line. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him Young John Madden. This is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as a coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL, and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
Third down just got a lot tougher. That will officially go as a loss of 7. We need a crafty play call here. 14 yards is what they need to try to convert this thing. And he's got some space here. And he's going to be out up around the 45-yard line. So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon, and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
Trying to keep the drive going here. This is play number 7 on 3rd and 2. And he will have first down yardage as he's brought down at the 41. They get 5 out of that one, and it moves the chains. But Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp. Actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles. With quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons. He coached with the Vikings. And was there during that time. I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
So now on comes the field goal unit, and wow, this is no ordinary try here. This from 54 yards away. And this is good. He got just enough to clear the crossbar as he drops it in from long distance. And the NFC out to an early 3-0 lead. So they're able to end that drive with 3 points in this one-possession ball game.
And ideally, you want to end every drive with points. Most quarterbacks would tell you, let's end it with a kick, right? A PAT, that's number 1. Field goal you'll take. Punts, you really don't want to do that. In this case, they'll take the field goal and get prepared for the rest of the game.
And it's a pretty good return here as he'll get this up to the 29. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in a conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36-16-2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
They keep it on the ground. Allen again. And hard running's going to get him over the 40 to the 42. But Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course. And the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, in 1967, Brandon, Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride the Raiders in the NFL were about to go on. A good scheme and an early win for this pass rush. They got back there before he could work through his entire progression and ended that play early.
On is the Hall of Famer Ray Guy to punt this away on 4th down. He steps into this. And this is a rocket. And this will hit just beyond the goal line as it's into the end zone for a touchback. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. And still plenty of time remaining here in the half, more than a minute. And we'll see if they just want to protect that lead or try to add on to it.
Well, with as much time as is left on the clock, I would imagine it would be the latter. I think they're going to try and add on to it. So what they're going to tell the team is very simply, if you can get out of bounds after making a play downfield, terrific. If you can't, everyone hustle to the line of scrimmage, either run another play or clock it and start over again.
Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. In 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root, as did the expression commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden on offense.
And they're going to fake it from deep in their own territory. I know, without even asking, without even looking in your direction, that you are not a fan of that call.
Oh, I wish you would look, Brandon, because I was actually thinking this would be the perfect time for a fake.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. This deep in your own territory. Look, I'm all for being unconventional. That part's cool, and I get it. But this deep, I just don't think it was the right time to make that call. Well, congratulations to them. They come through defensively with another stop. And let's face it, this secondary, they've gone unchallenged so far in the first half.
Throwing again on 2nd and 10. Brady. And he's going to be taken down here. A sack back at the 32. Now the AFC going to use the first of their timeouts as they get it right at the 32nd mark of this first half. Now on 3rd and long, they'll look to throw. And he'll get this into the hands of Hill, complete. Now another timeout called for by the offense. So that means they're down to 1 remaining here as we head toward halftime. Brady going to throw. And he can't find a receiver, and he's brought down. Now the offense will burn their third and final timeout. And with halftime on the horizon, they'll be out of timeouts from here forward. The career leader in field goals made knocks that one through. And that will tie us at 3-3. Well, maybe a nice psychological boost there just to get back to even with that field goal as we head towards half.
Coaching 101 always says at halftime, play it like it's 0-0 on the scoreboard. Well, in this case, it's level, right? Same score each side. Just start over. Now you get the second half to play.
And he will be brought down here inside the 20. Good coverage as he's dropped at the 17. Well, the white flag coming out as they line up to kneel on it. And we will likely not see another play here as they take the knee. And so we are at halftime of the John Madden Legacy game. And now we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley. The AFC going to get the football first here as we are back underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy game. And no fireworks to start the half. This will be a touchback. Well, the AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's the guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There's 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap, you had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
So here's a 1st and 10 at the 38. Now a carry for Allen. And he's going to be stopped up quickly here. Just a yard up to the 39. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42, he just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the... people right from the start, and people may not remember, he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams,